Hello, it's time for another episode of Discipleship Today. My name is Bob Benson. I pastor Christ Lutheran Church. We've been talking about discipleship, what it means, how we do it, the drawbacks of doing it in our modern world today. And this week, Ash Wednesday is coming up, and I've been really diving in to Ash Wednesday and the whole Lent idea because I come from a background where we didn't celebrate it at all. But the church that I serve does. And as I've been digging in, I'm really convinced that the Western church doesn't understand the whole idea about sackcloth and ashes. Sackcloth and ashes refers to an ancient expression of intense grief, of mourning, and of repentance. Well, historically, a physical practice, it has evolved into a modern idiom for showing extreme regret. As we look at our world today, we see sin all over. Does that sin abhor us? We're supposed to abhor what is evil. Now I'm going to ask the same question again, but I'm going to add a couple of words. Do we abhor the sin in our lives? As we look at the world, it's easy to abhor the sin that the world is in, but do we abhor the sin? The Bible tells us, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That includes me. I am a sinner saved by grace through faith. I got that. But do I have the same intense grief, mourning, and repentance over my own sin? That's a great question to ask your disciples and to have them ask their disciples, because I don't think we get it. Biblically and historically, in ancient Near East, especially among the Hebrew people, donning sackcloth and sitting in ashes was a public outward sign of an inward state of humility. Kind of like baptism. An outward sign of an inward commitment that you've already made to Jesus Christ. Kind of like wearing a wedding ring. If I take this ring off my hand, am I not married anymore? No, I've made an inward commitment. This is an outward expression of that inward commitment that I have made to my wife. We have that in baptism. Do we have that same thing in sackcloth and ashes? And remember that sackcloth in the first century was made either of goat hair or camel hair. And it would have been something that you put on next to your skin. Modern day, we think of sackcloth as burlap. But burlap doesn't stink like a camel or a goat when it gets wet. And that's the way we have to look at our own sin. It would bother us to be stinky like that, but it would also show the world that we're stinky, that we're covered with our own sin. This coarse, uncomfortable fabric, usually made of goat or camel hair, wearing it against the skin was a form of self-abatement and penance. The first year I was at the church that I'm at now, I cut small pieces of burlap, about the size of a hanky, and I handed them to the congregation, and I had them stick them in their pockets for the Lent season so you could feel that roughness. What I told them was I was going to have my wife make pairs of boxer shorts out of it. And think of how that would feel. That would remind you. That would be that uncomfortableness with your own sin. I actually had a guy come to me Easter Sunday morning, and he pulled it out of his pocket, and it was much smaller because it was coming apart. The burlap just comes apart naturally. And he says, I still have this in my pocket. And that's the way that we have to look at our own sin, that it's very uncomfortable for us. And ashes symbolize desolation, ruin, and human mortality. From ashes you came, to ashes you shall return. That's what Genesis says. People would often sprinkle ashes on their head and sit directly in a pile of them as an outward expression of their repentance. I don't know if we understand that we're supposed to abhor our own evil to the point where it makes us so uncomfortable. We're wearing sackcloth underwear and we're covering ourselves in ashes as a way of showing the world that we abhor our own evil. It's easy to express that to everyone else's evil, everyone else's sin. But it's really hard to express that and expose ourselves as sinners. Andy and I were talking this morning. There's a lot of sin that the church is comfortable with. We are comfortable with gossip. And gossip does more damage in the kingdom than any other sin. But we're okay with it. Matter of fact, I've heard people say, I'm just telling you this as a prayer request so you can be praying about it. It's still gossip. It's talking badly about other people. And it does more damage within the church and within the kingdom than any other sin that we deal with. Do we abhor that kind of sin? Do we abhor our own sin when we gossip and we murder somebody's character? These are just deep questions that we have to ask ourselves, and we have to see if we can make a difference in our lives first. We can't go around pointing out other people's sin. We have to fix our own sin, the log in your eye first, before you can do anything about anybody else. So the question today is, do you abhor your own sin? And do you show it? So for Discipleship Today, my name is Bob Benson. Thank you for taking the time to watch.